The outpost floated in silence, a lonely shadow on the edge of space. It was not an important station, not a great fortress or a capital hub. It was only a listening post, a small place where a few officers and workers kept watch on the empty void. Most days were the same, quiet, uneventful, and almost forgotten by their empire. Commander Relkin sat inside the control chamber, staring at the glowing screens. His eyes were tired, his mind heavy with boredom. The crew of the outpost had not seen action for years. Their duty was to scan signals, check patrol routes, and report anything unusual. But nothing ever came. The stars were silent, and silence was heavy. Until that night. A sudden alarm broke the stillness. Red lights pulsed along the control room walls. Technicians jumped to their stations, their hands shaking as they pulled up data. A strange object had entered the sector. At first, the crew thought it was a meteor. Then the sensors read energy signatures. Too sharp, too artificial. It could be raiders, one officer whispered. Or worse, a recon scout from the enemy. Relkin narrowed his eyes. Their empire had rivals, enemies that would gladly strike at weak border posts. The commander could not take chances. His duty was to report, to call for aid. Send the SOS, he ordered. A technician moved quickly. The signal beacon was prepared, its code loaded into the transmitter. With one push, their call for help would fly across the stars, reaching the nearest fleet base of their empire. Allies would come, ships would arrive, and safety would be restored. But fate had other plans. The beacon flared with energy. Something inside the old transmitter cracked, a system error buried deep in the machine's code. The message was not clean. Coordinates twisted, numbers shifted. The SOS that was meant for their empire went wrong. It shot into the void, carrying a corrupted signal far, far beyond where it should have gone. The crew did not notice. They sat back, relieved, certain that help was now on its way. Relkin breathed slowly. Good. Reinforcements will come soon. We only need to hold until then. But as hours passed, unease grew. No familiar signal returned. No coded reply from their empire reached the outpost. The silence deepened, heavier than before. Far away, on a distant side of the galaxy, another kind of ear caught the call. Humanity. For years, humans had been expanding beyond their home system. They had fought wars, they had survived invasions, and they had learned quickly. Their fleets were vast and powerful, their soldiers hardened. Humanity was still young compared to ancient empires, but their rise was fast, and their will was iron. When the corrupted SOS reached human space, it was not ignored. Commanders studied it, intelligence officers examined it. The signal carried fear, urgency, and coordinates pointing toward unknown territory. Someone is calling for help, one admiral said. Or calling us into a trap, another replied. But humans were never ones to sit still. Curiosity burned in them, and so did the hunger for opportunity. If this was a cry for aid, perhaps it meant weakness. If it was a trap, then they would spring it with firepower. Either way, humanity would answer. And they did not answer with a whisper. They answered with a fleet. Back at the alien outpost, days passed. The crew waited. Each hour stretched longer. Some officers grew restless, others fearful. What if their signal had failed? What if no one was coming? Relkin stood at the viewport, staring at the dark sea of stars. He felt a chill he could not explain, as if the universe itself was holding its breath. Then, one day, the sensors lit up again. Something was approaching. Dozens of signatures, fast and powerful. The crew cheered, thinking their empire had come at last. Rescue had arrived. But the shapes that broke out of hyperspace were not familiar. Their design was sharp, alien, and terrifying. Massive ships, black and silver, covered in weapons and strange glowing lines. The technicians fell silent. Their hearts froze. These were not their people. These were not allies. Relkan's voice cracked as he whispered. Who did we call? On the other side of the stars, the humans prepared their first words, their first move, their first step into this unknown territory. They had heard the signal, and they had come. But not for rescue. They had come ready for war. The corrupted SOS did not fade into the void. It found its way across endless space, through regions no alien had ever touched, until it reached the edge of human territory. In a dark command center orbiting Mars, a signal officer frowned at his console. A strange beacon had been received. It was weak, distorted, but still alive. He played it again and again, trying to make sense of the words. The voice was alien, sharp and broken. The translation software caught only fragments. Attack, outpost, urgent, help us. The officer reported it to higher command. Within hours, the message traveled to Earth's military council. Admirals, generals, and intelligence officers gathered in silence, listening to the desperate call. "This is no human voice," one analyst said. "No," replied an admiral. "But the coordinates are clear. Someone is calling for aid from beyond our borders." For a long moment, the council was quiet. Humanity had expanded fast. They had colonies across nearby stars, fleets guarding new trade routes, soldiers stationed on frontier worlds. But this was different. This was an invitation to step outside their known space. Admiral Hayes leaned forward, his eyes cold but sharp. "It could be an opportunity. If there is weakness there, we can take advantage." Another general spoke cautiously. "Or it could be a trap. We don't know who sent it. We don't know what waits for us." The debate grew louder. Some wanted to ignore the signal, to stay safe within human borders. Others argued that humanity could not afford to ignore it, because if they did not answer, someone else might. Finally, the decision was made. Humanity would answer. But they would not answer with kindness. They would answer with strength. Within days, the fleet began to assemble. Enormous carriers, sleek destroyers, heavy cruisers, all lined in formation. Engineers loaded supplies, soldiers prepared weapons, and commanders studied the coordinates again and again. "This may be nothing," one officer said as he checked his ship's systems. The admiral corrected him, "Nothing does not send a signal. And nothing does not beg for help." The humans had no clear idea what they were walking into. They only knew that someone had called, and they were curious. Curiosity, in humanity, was never harmless. It came with steel, with firepower, with fleets that could crush worlds if needed. The fleet jumped into hyperspace. One by one, ships vanished into the dark corridors of faster-than-light travel. The stars stretched, bent, and twisted as humanity crossed the void. Back on the alien outpost, the crew still waited, believing rescue was on its way. They did not know the message had gone wrong. They did not know a different power was now moving toward them. Hours turned into days. The alien commander, Relkan, grew restless. "Where are they? Why is no one answering?" he asked his officers. "Perhaps the fleet is delayed," one replied. "Perhaps reinforcements are gathering." But doubt grew in their hearts. Something was wrong. And then the moment came. The outpost sensors lit up with hundreds of contacts, approaching fast. The crew jumped to their feet, relief filling their faces. Finally, help had arrived. Ships burst out of hyperspace, one after another, forming a wall of steel across the stars. But the designs were wrong, alien to the aliens themselves. Sharp angles, glowing blue engines, heavy cannons mounted like predators waiting to strike. The station fell silent. The crew stared in horror. Relkan's throat went dry. "These are not our ships." The human fleet hung in the void, silent but watchful. Their massive carriers blocked out the stars. Their destroyers glided like blades. Every gun was pointed at the alien outpost. Inside the human flagship, Admiral Hayes gave a single order. "Transmit a message." Only 3 words. The comm officer pressed a button. Across the void, a signal reached the alien outpost. On the alien screens, strange symbols appeared, then translated slowly into their language. "We heard you." The alien crew froze. Their blood ran cold. What had they done? The humans had answered. And they had not come as saviors. They had come as warriors. The alien outpost shook with fear as the human fleet surrounded it. Hundreds of ships floated in the void, silent and deadly. The stars themselves seemed to vanish behind the wall of metal. Inside the control room, Commander Relkan could barely breathe. His crew stared at the strange vessels, their scales pale, their voices hushed. They had called for help. Instead, something unknown had answered. These are not our people," one officer whispered. Relkan's throat was dry. "No. And they did not come here by accident." The humans made no move to attack, not yet. They simply hovered, watching, waiting. Their formation was perfect, disciplined, precise. Every ship looked ready to fire at a single command. Then a signal came. The outpost speakers hissed with static before a new voice broke through. Deep, steady, and sharp. "We heard you." The words were simple, but they carried weight like thunder. The aliens froze. They understood. Whoever these strangers were, they had intercepted the SOS. And now, they had come. "Open a channel," Relkan ordered, his voice trembling. "We must explain. We must tell them it was a mistake." The communication officer obeyed, sending out a stream of words, their language rolling into the void. "This is an outpost of the Vair Empire. We thank you for answering, but there has been a mistake. This signal was not meant for you. Please, identify yourselves." Silence answered. The human fleet did not respond. Their ships stayed in formation, cold and silent like predators watching prey. Panic spread across the control room. "Why won't they answer?" one technician cried. "Do they not understand?" Relkan's mind raced. The Vair Empire was powerful, but it was not united. It had many enemies. And now, before him, was an enemy he did not even know. Minutes passed like hours. Then, slowly, one of the human ships moved. It was smaller than the great carriers, but still larger than the outpost itself. It glided forward, casting its shadow across the alien station. "Shields up!" Relkan shouted instinctively. Energy screens flickered to life around the outpost. But they knew it was useless. The humans had more firepower in one ship than the outpost had in its entire arsenal. The human vessel stopped just outside weapon range. Lights flickered along its hull, patterns moving like signals. The aliens scrambled to interpret, running code after code. Finally, a translation appeared. Only 4 words. "We are humanity. Prepare." The crew looked at one another in terror. Prepare for what? War? Surrender? Judgment? Relkan's claws dug into the console. He tried again, his voice desperate. "Humanity, if you can hear us, this is a mistake. We did not call for you. We do not seek conflict." Again, there was no reply. Only silence. And then the humans moved. Small ships broke away from the main fleet, sleek, fast, and armed. Dropships. They headed straight for the outpost. The alien crew panicked. "They're boarding us." "Ready defenses," Relkan barked, though he knew it was hopeless. The outpost was never built for war. It was a watchtower, not a fortress. Lights flickered. The walls trembled as docking clamps attached. The sound of metal grinding against metal echoed through the corridors. Then came the thud, heavy boots striking the floor. The first humans stepped inside. Tall, armored, their faces hidden behind black visors. Their weapons hummed with power. They moved with precision, covering every angle, every corner. The alien guards raised their rifles, hands shaking. But before they could fire, the humans acted. Quick, sharp bursts of energy cut through the air. The guards fell, stunned and silent. Relkan's heart pounded. He had never seen soldiers move like this, fast, calm, ruthless. These were not saviors. These were conquerors. The humans stormed through the corridors, clearing room after room. The aliens tried to resist, but it was like fighting a storm with bare hands. Within minutes, the outpost was theirs. In the control room, the heavy doors burst open. Humans entered, weapons raised. Relkan stood frozen at his console, his crew trembling behind him. One of the armored figures stepped forward. His voice was deep, distorted by his helmet, but the words were clear. "You called. We came." Relkan tried to speak, but no words came. His mind screamed that this was wrong, that this was all a mistake. But the humans did not care. The soldier pointed his weapon at the console. "This outpost belongs to humanity now." And with that, the screens went dark. The first contact had been made. And it was not peace. It was conquest. The alien outpost was silent now. Its halls, once filled with nervous voices, were under human control. The Vaer crew sat disarmed and trembling, guarded by armored soldiers who never spoke a word. The humans moved like machines, efficient, cold, unstoppable. Commander Relkan sat in chains, forced to watch as human officers walked through his control room, scanning every system, every file. They moved quickly, as if they already knew what to look for. "They are not here for rescue," Relkan whispered to himself. "They are searching for something." He was right. The human fleet had not come blindly. From the moment they decoded the SOS, intelligence officers had studied every signal fragment. Something hidden pulsed within the message, a strange energy reading, buried deep in the background noise. Something that did not belong. Now, aboard the captured outpost, humanity was searching for it. Technicians in black uniforms placed scanners across the walls. Their devices hummed, glowing with blue light. One of them spoke through his helmet. "The readings are stronger here. It's close." Relkan's chest tightened. He knew what they were hunting. The outpost was not as simple as it looked. Long ago, the Empire had buried secrets beneath it, ancient technology from a forgotten war. Even most of the crew did not know. Only the commander was told. He had sworn to keep it hidden. But now, humanity was uncovering it. Down below, in the lower levels of the station, soldiers forced open sealed doors. Dust poured out, and the air grew cold. Inside lay a chamber untouched for centuries, filled with strange machinery and glowing shards of crystal. The humans scanned it all, recording every detail. They had found what they wanted. On the flagship orbiting above, Admiral Hayes studied the reports. His eyes narrowed as he read the analysis. Power source, weapon fragments, old, but advanced. If this empire kept it hidden, then they fear its use. He leaned back in his chair. Which means we should not fear it. We should own it. The decision was made. Humanity would not leave. Humanity would take. Back on the outpost, Relkan felt despair sink into his bones. His people's secret was no longer theirs. The humans had found it, and they would not stop here. He spoke to one of the guards, his voice desperate. "If you use that technology, you will awaken things you cannot control." The soldier said nothing. He only stood in silence, weapon steady. But outside, across the stars, the Vaer Empire was already moving. News had reached them. The distress call had been misfired. The outpost was silent. And something unknown was now in their territory. War councils gathered. Fleets were summoned. Commanders barked orders as ships prepared to move. But they were not fast enough. By the time the Vaer Empire began to respond, humanity had already secured the outpost and studied its secrets. Engineers worked day and night, decoding the technology, while the fleet remained in position like wolves guarding their kill. The humans were not just defending. They were expanding. Patrols moved deeper into nearby systems, scouting, mapping, claiming. The Empire's border was no longer theirs. It belonged to the newcomers. Whispers spread through the Vare capital. Who are these humans? Why did they come with war fleets? What do they want? No one had answers. Only fear. Relkan, still chained in his own command chair, asked the same question. He watched as human banners were placed across the outpost, as though this station had never belonged to the Vare. The humans acted with confidence, as if conquest was their natural right. One human officer finally spoke to him, his voice calm, almost casual. You should be proud. You called us first. You will be remembered as the one who opened the door. Relkan closed his eyes. He had not opened a door. He had opened a war. The hidden chamber beneath the outpost glowed brighter now, its machines slowly awakening under human hands. Whatever ancient power had been left there was no longer asleep. And as the humans claimed it, the Vare Empire's fleets closed in. Two forces, unknown to each other, unknown to what the future held, were about to collide. The hidden war had begun. The Vare Empire's fleet arrived too late. Massive warships emerged from hyperspace, engines blazing, weapons ready. But the humans were already waiting. Every outpost, every shuttle, every ship under Admiral Hayes' command was in position. They had claimed the station, decoded its secrets, and secured the hidden power. Commander Relkan stood on the observation deck of the outpost, chained, trembling. He watched the approaching fleet, thousands of ships, all aimed at his people. Fear gnawed at him, but he also felt a strange awe. Humanity was unstoppable. Sir, one of his officers whispered. They are ready. They could destroy us all. Relkan swallowed hard. We misfired the signal. We invited them. On the human flagship, Admiral Hayes watched the Vare fleet through thick glass. He did not flinch. His fingers rested on the command console. Every gun, every fighter, every warship under his control waited for the signal. He smiled. Calm, cold, confident. This is what happens, he said quietly, when someone calls humanity for help and doesn't realize who they are calling. The Vare commanders sent messages, demanding surrender, trying diplomacy, trying threats. But the humans did not respond. Their silence was louder than any cannon. The first shots were not fired, but their presence was enough. The outpost's walls trembled with the hum of human power. The ancient technology they had uncovered was now integrated into the fleet systems, enhancing shields, boosting weapons, giving them advantages no alien had seen. Relkan begged. Please, do not destroy my people. We only misfired. Admiral Hayes finally spoke through the communication channel. His voice was calm, almost casual. You called us for war. War is what you will have. But if you surrender, your empire may survive a little longer. Relkan's heart sank. There was no negotiation, no mercy. The humans had decided. They were the hunters now. The Vare fleet tried to advance. Their flagship fired first, energy beams streaking across the void. The humans countered instantly, precise, deadly. Shields held. Weapons struck with perfect timing. Ships exploded in flashes of fire and light. The outpost itself became a battlefield. The humans used it as a command center, a staging ground, a fortress. Vare forces could not approach without facing annihilation. Relkan watched helplessly as his empire's fleet began to crumble. The humans moved like predators, coordinated and relentless. Every strategy the Vare Empire had prepared failed against the newcomers. This cannot be. They are too strong, one officer muttered. The humans were not just strong. They were adaptable. Every move the Vare fleet made was countered. Every weak point was found and exploited. And above all, they fought with the confidence of those who had survived countless wars and won. The battle raged across space for hours, but it was clear. The Vare Empire was losing. Ships burned. Command signals jammed. Pilots fled or were captured. The humans held the advantage, and they would not give it up. Relkan realized the truth. Humanity was not a species to underestimate. They did not need diplomacy, they did not need alliances. When called, they arrived. And when challenged, they conquered. The final strike came as human bombers entered the Veer fleet formation. In a coordinated attack, they disabled the enemy flagship's engines. Ships fell out of formation, drifting powerless into space. Panic spread through the Veer forces. Admiral Hayes ordered his fleet to hold. They did not pursue unnecessarily. Humanity did not destroy without purpose. They took control. Relkin looked at the human soldiers now occupying the outpost. Their faces hidden behind helmets, their movements calm and precise. He had no words. Only realization. This was never a rescue, he whispered. This was the beginning of something larger. Above the battle, the human fleet formed a perfect line. The Veer Empire had been challenged, and the message was clear. Humanity had arrived in this sector, strong, intelligent, and unyielding. Admiral Hayes' final words echoed through the outpost's communication system. The galaxy will remember who answered your call. The empire you serve is not safe. Humanity does not wait. Humanity does not forgive. Humanity conquers. And with that, the fleet jumped deeper into alien territory, leaving destruction and fear in their wake. The outpost, once a lonely sentinel on the edge of space, now stood as a symbol. A symbol of human power. A warning to all who might underestimate them. The war had only just begun.